Welcome to Here to Uplift. This is where we uplift our community by sharing the real stories and wisdom of entrepreneurs, changemakers, and innovators. No fluff, just the good, bad, and ugly of their journeys. It's a new season, and we are breaking bread in a segment I call Let's Taco Bout It, highlighting the food and culture of Silicon Valley. So you might get a little hungry. Your support means everything. So if you enjoy this episode, learn something new, or feel inspired, please share it with a friend or that entrepreneur who needs a boost. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back to the Here to Uplift podcast, y'all. We are deep into our Let's Taco Bout It series, and we're coming to you from Santa Clara today. This is a restaurant new to both of us, but technically you've been to the one that was in this spot previously, right?
Yeah, I live close by, so we've walked here before when it was the previous restaurant. Yeah.
So forgive me if I'm saying the name wrong, but I believe it's Calix Mex.
I think you're right.
Bar and Grill, and we're on the rooftop. It's just, I look for places with rooftops or kind of balcony settings, and this is gorgeous up here. So
they did a good job revamping this. It was kind of bland before, so they did good. Yeah.
So Dr. Mike is one of the people I've known for a while, like since I came to San Jose, I should say. Mm-hmm. So I would love for you to introduce yourself before we just start munching and getting into conversation.
So I'm Dr. Mike Grossman, owner and chiropractor of Adapt Health Clinic, and actually met Lolo at a Health is Wealth event at Rumble City Boxing, and that's where we first met. And just Instagram, the power of social media, we reached out and got in touch, and that's how we really got to know each other. So
yes, I really can't believe this is your first podcast.
Yeah.
Every time I've come to get adjustments, everything you tell me is just brilliant, and I feel like anytime I hear brilliance like that and just your journey, I already expected you to have told your story on like a million places. So I appreciate
so
happy
I feel
that
like
we
I share
get to
it
share
with
it
people
here.
a lot, like one-on-ones and stuff, but I do appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, this is an opportunity to share a little bit of brilliance or whatever parts of your story have been kind of meaningful to you. So I'd love to dive into that while we're waiting on the food. It's just, why be an entrepreneur and have your own business in the first place? Because that definitely has its own challenges.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. When people are like, it must be nice, you only work like 3.5 days a week, and it's like, that's hands-on care.
Right,
that's not like,
you're like,
there's all the back-end stuff.
Every day.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you kind of pick and choose how much work you want to do.
Yeah.
I'd say it all started as a kid, because both my mom and dad had their own businesses.
Oh, did they?
They separated when I was a young age.
Okay.
I stayed with my mom most of the time, and just seeing her grinding away, starting her own business. She was a nurse case manager, and it was like carrying the files around, going to appointments, and we kind of just tagged along. We were kind of in the background, and just kind of seeing that, as a kid, you're just watching her constantly working and not really seeing like, it's a very different family dynamic than what I see hanging out at my friends' places for, parents who didn't have their own business. And I just got to constantly watch her grinding and like slowly seeing her build up her business. And at a young age, I didn't really understand it, but now I'm older, I'm like, wow, I really appreciate what she did to set us up for a better life.
Right.
So I'd say that was some inspiration, and just having a vision of what I wanted to ultimately create. I just couldn't do that working at a place. Without having some, back and forth or discrepancies. So that's ultimately what kind of led me. It's like, if I want to jump in head first, I'll do this. And worst comes to worst, you can always get a job working somewhere. So it wasn't like the end of the the I'll still get to do what I want to do. Yeah,
your skills could transfer anywhere.
100%.
That was one of the things I had to face when starting the studio, like closed now, but it was definitely that thing in my mind of like, what if I fail? What if I fail? Yeah. And in some ways I did fail, though, language-wise, some people are like, don't ever say you failed. And I'm like, no, like, I take that failure as a positive, because it also means that I'm still here. I've, like, grown from it, and I've learned from it. But thinking about failure at first was almost the opposite of what you're saying for me. I did not realize, like, wait, you're always going to have these options because your skills don't go anywhere.
Right.
Your experience doesn't go anywhere if you go for it and try something. And now I've learned. Like, I had that failure for a moment. I learned from it, and now I've been able to take those skills into places I never even expected 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. And there's so many skills that we have in the professions we have that overlap, right? You just kind of have those basics. Do you know how to have a conversation, talk with people, and whether it's selling yoga, houses, chiropractic, it's all the same at the end of the day. It's just that foundational skill set that's very transferable that, it just depends. Do you kind of have that grit and drive? So, failure's part of it. had many failures in my business as of now, and it's, it's ever evolving, right? You have your goods, your bads, and it's just learning to roll with it and know that it's not the end of the world, and it's not like, doom and gloom. It's just, it sucks when you have a bad day or something doesn't go well, and you're like, okay, learn from it, and how do we improve upon it?
Yeah. When did you start your business?
I started April 1st of 2018. Okay. Yeah, and it was originally Grossman Chiropractic. Yeah.
You had to do April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I know. I was like, really? You got to pick this day? But it's like, I ended my previous job. I had like a couple days, and it was like, boom, I wanted to just start at the beginning of the month. But yeah, I was renting a room from another chiropractor, just, had my own little space. Yeah, and it was like, starting from the ground up. So it was, how do I start to meet people, network? So it's like networking groups. I'd say Instagram was really big because just DMing, gyms or places in the area and just trying to introduce myself. It was a nice, warm intro versus like walking in and maybe they're in the middle of doing something like, who are you? Like, get the heck out of my gym or get out of here, So it's like an easier way to introduce myself and kind of set up meetings and how can I add value or help out your business and you. So that's really what helped me get going was doing that. And then just, networking, meeting people.
Were you with your wife at this time already, like when you started?
So we were dating, but not married yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always am curious because, building a relationship and building a business, there's a lot of similarities, but I think they're also challenging to do at the same time.
Yeah.
If there's not some sort of like cohesion.
Yeah.
So I guess just out of curiosity, like, how did that blend work in terms of dating and eventually marrying your wife while building this?
So we met when I was just finishing school and graduating, working at where I was working, and that's when we first met. And then, we were together for about the 2 years of me working somewhere else, and I kind of let her know, like, hey, I'm thinking of leaving and doing my own thing because I was unhappy. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And she was, encouraging for it, which I appreciate because she works in tech. She's got a great salary, so it's going to be, hey, if we move forward, you're going to be helping me a lot in the beginning, but I will reciprocate in ways I can. So she was super supportive, which I really appreciate because I think it would have been tough if she's like, no, I want you to have a steady paycheck. I want to make sure that you're helping me. So I really appreciated what she did giving me that opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think that's necessary? Ooh, yay, drinks.
I think...
I should say, do you think that it's necessary for one person within the couple to have like a regular, in a sense, 9-to-5 W2 job? When
I think it depends on maybe your goals and what you are looking for as a couple. I don't know if I would say it's necessary, but it's just what are you willing to endure together or not endure? Like she's eventually wants to leave her field and like maybe be a yoga teacher and kind of maybe build like a wellness thing in the future, but she's just really doing well in her career. She does like what she's doing, but eventually, it's like we get to a good point, she's at a good level, and financially could we sustain afterwards?
Different seasons,
so it just kind of depends, I think, on goals and things like that.
I get that.
Yeah.
I know, it's very interesting being an entrepreneurial couple. I think I never totally imagined it in the same way because, or I should say I never imagined it this way because most of my life I really only saw that perspective for myself of like stable income and always chasing just promotions. But there's pros and cons to it, like you're saying. I definitely craved a sense of limitlessness that I wasn't getting in a 9-to-5 and working in higher ed in particular. It's like I had limitless amounts of work to do and work I could create for myself, which I was really good at creating more work for myself because I'd have all these ideas and then
you
try to
get it
execute on it.
But,
when those ideas don't give you a return, it just becomes draining. And I think I see that very differently in entrepreneurship. Like you could do things that you never get paid for over and over and over, but when it's working towards building your brand, building an identity for your business, it feels so much more important and powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is never seen from the public eye, right? Like as entrepreneurs, we know what we're dealing with. And if people just have like a salary job, they don't truly understand it. It's just like you can't put yourself in my shoes if you've never experienced it. And I think I always tell people kind of like as a semi-joke, like I think everyone has to as like a requirement as a citizen, should have at least 1 to 3 months of working in a service job. So whether it's a waiter or waitress or something, because you understand, you know, the nitty gritty, like what really goes on and how hard it really is, and then kind of transfer that to entrepreneurship. It's kind of similar. You're not getting like, you know, annoyed by the customer who's like, where's my refill, blah, 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 but you still are having those challenges that people don't see, right? They're like, oh man, I wish I had, you know, 3 days off. You're like, bro, you think I'm just chilling, watching Netflix? No, I'm grinding. I'm doing all the other things I don't do when I'm treating people, right? And they don't realize, like,
you're
you work
building
at a
your
big tech
business,
company.
or what is it, working on your business and not in your business on those days.
Yeah, and tech companies have like divisions and departments, right? You got sales, marketing, operations. Like, I do all those things. Or I try
You're like,
to.
Tuesday I am this department, Wednesday I'm this department.
It's like, I found services and people that kind of help facilitate some of that work, but when you're starting out, you're essentially trying to figure it out because you don't have the money to like pay for it, and then eventually you build up, and it's like, okay, I can offload this to this person.
That piece. That is like the piece of scaling I'm very excited about getting to. Is thank you. It's good. I'm like, I need this, exactly what I needed. Coffee. But yeah, that's the part of scaling that gets me really excited right now in my own ventures with real estate. Is I think I've been blessed to know about VAs now, you know, so we definitely make use of VAs when it comes to content and editing and that side of things, but there's so much more work that could be delegated, collaborated on, outsourced, and I'm really excited to get to that point when we have, you know, more funds to work with as I grow in the business. So I
don't know if you're like me. I'm like not a control freak, but I like to make sure I got my hand on some things and make sure it's going the way that I would like. And, you know, I'm particular, and there's this, I forget the author, but it's called Unreasonable Hospitality. Have you heard of this book?
No.
It's a fantastic book. So it's about the #1 restaurant in the world at the time was in New York. I forget the name of it, but and the author, but I heard him on a podcast, and he set unreasonable expectations for him and his staff because he wanted to make sure the customer had like the best experience. Like, they're not just eating food, they're having an experience. So he told a story about, he overheard some tourists that were just finished, like, oh man, we're about to go to our flight. I wish I had a New York street hot dog. He overheard that and told one of his staff to go down the street, go get this hot dog, the way the guy was talking about it. They present it to him, bring it back, no charge, and just like those little things you would not think of, like how you organize your silver on the table and present it and everything. It's just, you want to set that experience, and that's how I kind of look at my business and how I want people to view the way I do chiropractic is not only helping you get relief, but see the big picture and see that it is like an experience. It's not just about coming in and getting cracked. So I always say I'm not a rack and crack office.
I completely support that, having experienced it myself. I started getting adjustments in Merced was the first time I went to a chiropractor. And I was like thoroughly surprised because I was very scared of it for a long time. But with all my migraines and everything, I was like, let's give it a try. And I think it was helpful, but I wasn't necessarily comfortable going into the office every time. Like, they had a massage therapist there who was fantastic, and I feel like I went more for that than the adjustment itself. And then when I went to your space, it was the big picture that really drew me in and helped me want to like create the whole plan, like write a treatment plan. Because you go in, you can see all the workout equipment. I'm like, wait, is it a gym? Is it a chiropractor? And then you explained everything to me. Okay, well, if this is the issue, this is like how we attend to the issue. It's not just crack, all better. It's like, no, and that's how health works. And I think that's where culturally, in Western culture especially, we miss so much when it comes to our health because we try to just do like little quick fixes to make ourselves feel better. And it's like, it's about your lifestyle at 100%. The end of the day and what you do piece to piece. And I will tell you right now, even as I'm sitting here and I feel myself sinking in this chair, I'm thinking about all the things you told me about posture that I'm not doing right now. But I have been doing the door stretches.
There we go. Yeah. You know, I always tell people it's just about, you know, keeping top of mind. No one's perfect, myself included. I neglect posture times or not being able to exercise or whatnot. I just tell people, you catch yourself maybe slipping a little bit and then just, you know, remind yourself, oh yeah, I should start doing this again, even if it took some time off. And it's okay. You know, we're human beings. You know, you don't need to beat yourself up. It's just, I like to think of myself as try that little reminder that pops up on your shoulder, like, oh yeah, I'm slouching. I just need to sit up. Just those little twists and those little things to tweak. Yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna assume a little bit, but I feel like typically when I see folks who have that really like well-rounded vision or are showing you the bigger picture, they've had experience in all those different spaces as well as the one that they're like niching in. So I'm curious for you, like, did you do like training and other things before focusing on chiropractic work?
So before, actually, I wanted to do physical therapy.
Okay.
And so my own injury, of course, how we all get into the business is like, we suffer an injury, it helped us, so we want to do it. So I always knew I wanted to help people. That's just the type of person I was, always trying to help friends with stuff. And then I suffered a neck injury where I went over my handlebars, compressed my head, and compressed my C4 and C5 vertebra. And I lost all sensation, motor control in all my limbs. So I'm laying there and I couldn't move, and I freaked out. I was 16. I was like, oh my God, I'm just quadriplegic right now.
Crazy young, my
and
gosh.
it was probably only a minute or two, but it felt like forever, right? When you're sitting there, you just cannot move. And I slowly started getting sensation into my hands and fingers, was slowly able to move. It was like excruciating pain. And then I was able to get up and kind of move around, but I just could not turn my head. It just hurt so much. Ended up finding out after getting x-rays, I had the compression. And I was just on like pain medication, which really wasn't helping. And then was doing some physical therapy and eventually got suggested to see a chiropractor.
Okay.
And that was like what really pushed me over the edge to like get better versus just doing the physical therapy. Was adding in the adjustment to start to mobilize those joints that were compressed.
So
that
good.
was good.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Yep. He has to eat with his hands. Just kidding.
Yeah, so that's what really led me down that path. And then I was on the road to do physical therapy, and what it ended up changing was the chiropractor I saw, he was like, you ever think of doing chiropractic? I was like, no, I like doing the exercises and stuff like that. And he's like, well, we can do that under our license as a chiropractor. And I was like, oh, really? So when I looked into it, I could start chiropractic school sooner than going to physical therapy school. So I was like, bet, I'll go this way because I can start sooner. And at that time, chiropractors had direct access, meaning if you hurt yourself, you can walk in my door and see me on the spot. But at that time, physical therapy needed a referral.
Yes.
So you need a referral from your medical doctor saying you need PT for your neck injury. So that also is enticing to like, oh, I can see someone right off the bat. I don't have to wait. Now things have changed and physical therapists have direct access, which is good.
I need some of those then, because I feel like I'm still in the referral stage for a lot of physical therapy. Like
it depends on like, you know, what type of plan you have. Like if you're going to Kaiser, you can only go there kind of thing. And then you're starting to see more chiropractors and physical therapists actually opt out of taking insurance because of the limitations, which is unfortunate, but
that looks so good too.
Oh, thank you.
Are you from the Bay Area?
Yeah, I grew up in Cupertino.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Where did you guys live?
I know. We met in Merced, actually.
Okay.
Yep. And I think both of us kind of knew it was like we were there for a season, and then I started debating like, maybe I should stay in Merced, hence why I started the business there. But around the same time that he was like, yeah, I can't stay here. I came here during COVID time, but it's like the culture of Merced was not fitting. I was also feeling like there was something missing, like in the space of Merced. Like I loved having my business, but I actually liked the kind of grind culture of the Bay Area and San Jose in particular. Yeah. And I just, when I would imagine San Jose or the Bay Area, I really was only thinking of what SF is like. So once Anthony started showing me the different elements of San Jose, like he took me to Campbell when they were having kind of one of their downtown street festival things and networking events, all that stuff. Then I was like, okay, I'm starting to love it here. And I reconsidered a bit.
There you go. I think San Jose gets a lot of hate. And, you know, it's like, you can pick the good and bad of anywhere you live.
That is very true.
And, you know, I guess it depends on what you want out of your city. But I think Coach Phil, shout out to Phil, put it in a good way of like trying to hold it down. Because a lot of people just leave, right? They're like, oh, I hate it here. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go to Austin. I'm going to go to, you know, another big city or whatever. And it's so much better here. And it's like, well, if you really look around, you can find good things. I do think downtown kind of has like a a lost identity because you see a lot of turnover, but there are certain things that have just been constantly surviving.
Yes.
And, again, it just kind of depends on your outlook.
Good.
Oh, wow. Thank you. This is a lot bigger than I expected.
Good. Thank you.
Damn, this was $10? That's a little cheap.
This is good prices, too. I know. I'm like...
Yeah, usually this is what, like $18 somewhere?
Right.
You're like, why is this so expensive?
And that's part of, like, even why I wanted to start this series is, like you're talking about, I am learning what San Jose and Silicon Valley culture is from an outsider perspective. Like, I'm a transplant coming here, and I love it. But a lot of folks who have been here for a long time, they lose the love, or, you just get used to where you live, so you stop exploring and finding the new places. And I'm like, I want to kind of give us a moment to redefine what the culture is by the folks who live here, whether you are creating part of the culture by having your business in the space, or you're participating in it by like attending restaurants, events, whatever. So
I do think like the tech culture makes it hard in the sense of, the stereotype of tech people is not a great personality, kind of very self-absorbed, very kind of narrow, like always on their phones, always like, I need you to get me this, that's it. And then it's like everything almost seems transactional. It's like, where's the, kind of the slow down, put the phone down, let's have a conversation. So I think that element is kind of lost here sometimes, but, the culture and the demand of the work almost drives that mentality and that activity, right? So, kind of bringing it back to the work we do, people's expectations are like instantaneous, right? It's like, I'm used to things happening right away. It's like, well, your health doesn't happen right away, especially if you're living unhealthy. You're not just gonna, boom, all of a sudden shortcut and then I'm better, right? And then you have shit like, you have things like biohacking, which everyone's like, oh, you can just biohack your way out of this.
I don't understand biohacking.
So biohacking is, how do I hack my biology to improve something? It's almost like trying to find a shortcut. Like if I take this pill that's supposed to de-age me, I will do that and I'm gonna get younger, air quotes. Or like, oh, I just do this and then this is gonna get better. And most of it is passive. So it's like, oh, if I just consume this or just do this thing, then I get better and I don't have to do all this hard work of like actually working out or actually eating right. I can just like eat this bar and that's my meal that has every nutrient that I need, and I don't have to actually like eat a full meal or something. So it's these little quirks that people try to do, and there's like professional biohackers who take this product, use this product, and it'll achieve all these things. And I think there's some truth to it, but at the end of the day, like, how did our ancestors and how did we survive for so long without these things? It's kind of getting down to the roots, right? And it's, people just don't want to be consistently putting in the work. It's like, oh, I just work 12-hour days, I just want to sit on the couch. It's like, you've been sitting for 12 hours in front of the screen. Like, last thing you need is sit in front of the screen.
Your brain is probably depleted, but your body needs some movement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think that's the piece of it. Like when I thought Silicon Valley, I just thought tech. But there is so much culture in terms of even like the artistry of San Jose that I think is missed. And I'm saying San Jose, Silicon Valley, like when we think expansive and like talking about Mountain View, Palo Alto, it's like I think the tech piece is that so many things start here, and like you're saying, the instantaneousness, that's part of what provokes the grind.
Right.
It's like everything happens so quick and you don't want to miss out on something and you want to be ahead of the game, and that is challenging and not for everybody. But I think that's kind of what I loved about it is, in Merced, I was in a healing season of life, and I liked the slower pace and being able to heal. And naturally, though, my personality is somebody who loves a challenge. So that's interesting, though, to think about how the culture and maybe liking and loving that challenge piece, the fast pace, almost counteracts a little bit of how our health naturally works. Yeah.
It's unfortunately, it's not like a light switch, like grind, turn it off, chill, right? But you know, like everything, I think when you hear the work-life balance, I'm kind of part of the group that doesn't like that phrase, because it's not, I don't just work and then I stop and then I'm with my family, right? Like, especially as an entrepreneur, there's a blend of like, oh, I got to respond to this email real quick tonight before I got to put out this little fire, but we were supposed to do this. And it's like, I'll be right there. Just let me finish this real quick.
It's so great when you have people around you who understand that.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I think it's like, you have to actively find, how can I relax and find that inner peace? And the beautiful thing about living here is we got, the ocean, we have, the redwoods. It's like, okay, the weekend's coming up. What are we going to do to maybe de-stress or disconnect? It's like, we got Henry Cowell right over the hill, beautiful
things.
park. And I think sometimes people just get too like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere, sitting on the couch and just like watching Netflix all day. It's like, you have a free weekend, get out.
Rejuvenate. And I think that's where we need to work as a culture on redefining rest, because it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm exhausted, I need to go rest. Sometimes we do literally need sleep, but sometimes the rest or rejuvenation, it needs to come from other elements of self-care, as you'd say, like whether it's getting a massage, going for a hike, getting out, just spending time with family or people that you don't see at work every day. Because sometimes you're like, I just need a different face. So that was a challenge for me, honestly. A couple of years ago, I started working on that rest piece. And now, with the baby, I do feel like my rest needed is literally sleep. But I feel so lucky that I'm getting, I'm talking about you. I feel so lucky that I'm getting so many cool activities in my life right now and new communities, like the running community, just getting to do yoga for fun right now, and the meetup groups that we have going on, that has been giving me that rest in terms of like the community space and feeling alone sometimes when raising a baby at home, and then I'm like, oh, I go out and see other people, I'm like, yay, yay people. It sounds so simple, but I think we all need a little bit of that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there was this, I forgot who said it, but like having time to be bored, in the sense of like, you don't need to constantly be on your phone or constantly stimulate or entertain. Like, if you just sat out on your porch, with your significant other, you're with your friend, having a drink or not, just sitting there and chopping it up, like not having to constantly do something.
Yeah.
So that's a form of being able to kind of let your maybe creative brain go on, or just you to like, let me not think for a little bit. And that's okay to do. I think a lot of people always feel like, oh, you're not doing anything. You need to go do something. It's like, can I just chill?
You are calling me out right now. Oh, I think I literally had that day this week, but it was like I had to force myself to do it.
I'm projecting right now, I'll be honest. So I'm trying to remind myself I need to also chill too. It's been a week, so I'm like, okay.
No, but it is hard to just like, we always feel like we need to be productive, especially as business owners. Like, oh, there's this thing I should be doing, there's this thing I should be doing. It's like, there are things we could be doing, but sometimes we got to pause the shoulds to just be in that space, because now I feel rejuvenated after taking a day of where I technically did nothing, which really I was reflecting deeply.
Oh, yeah.
And I needed that.
Yeah.
But it was hard.
Oh, very.
It's hard.
Yeah, I need to continuously like remind myself of it too.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely coming back here.
I know, I just have to see if they allow dogs.
Oh, I wonder. They have the seats out front too, or like the front outside area.
Yeah. The previous place they didn't mind, but like it wasn't busy, so it was like, yeah, bring your dog up here.
Yeah. I know. What day is it right now? Thursday? Not too busy for a Thursday evening. Maybe we can change that, y'all. If you're listening and watching to this,
have a little networking meetup.
Yeah, I'm serious. This food is delicious. Y'all should come check it out. Let's see this one win, since there's been quite a few spots in this location that did not make it.
I know, got to break the curse.
Let's help this one make it. Oh, yeah. See, technically I didn't order tacos, but I'm making tacos. It counts.
You're lightweight making tacos. We'll make it count.
Okay, so the tech piece. This is kind of another piece I wanted to dive into. We're talking so much about culture, but how do you actually define Silicon Valley culture from the perspective of, growing up in the Bay Area and maybe seeing it differently young versus now?
Ooh, that's good. Well, growing up in Cupertino, it was a sleepy town. There was not a lot to do. Now it's, booming. There's a lot happening. There was a big shift in kind of the demographic. Where I was, it was like kind of a good mix. And then, you saw the huge influx of like Asian Indians, and they called it the Great White Flight. And a lot of the white folks were moving out of the area because of it. And
when we lived there, it was predominantly like very much first-gen immigrant, Asian and Indian, and Russian, I believe, were kind of the populations when we lived there. Yeah,
so, it went from a very sleepy, slow town to, like, pretty busy and active, and you know, I was not really a tech person, so just seeing the tech boom, I was like, I don't really care. Just like the phone, like call and text was like all I needed. But then, you know, you started to see things evolve, and I didn't have interest in that. Which, you know, it's like, oh, you're in the Silicon Valley, you should have.
Well, you know, that's always like a stereotype too. Like, if you grow up in the Bay Area, you must be great at tech, and it's like
everyone thinks I work in tech. Like, oh, you must work in tech, right? I was like, no.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, it is heavy on that as like a culture. Just seeing like that's, you know, where Apple started and boomed. You know, like, you know, my best friend went to Homestead where Steve Jobs went and stuff. So, you know, kind of seeing kind of the tech boom, and you know, I'm 38, so you know, it was kind of past the big boom that already happened for the people when the computer got invented and stuff. So just seeing like that big change was kind of wild experience, and just seeing how the whole city kind of just really grew very fast.
Yeah. Did you ever feel pressured to get into tech?
No. I think my mom gave me the freedom to kind of pick what I wanted to do, which was nice.
That's good.
And for me, I went to San Jose State for my undergrad, and I took a career finding class, and that helped me a lot, because that was really, aside from the physical therapy, still kind of lost in like, what do I really want to do long term? Like, I considered being a mechanic. Yeah, it was a fantastic class, and if they offer it at your college and you don't know what you want to do, take that class. So you can kind of, it's like a whole workbook on narrowing down like the specific careers you would think of doing. And for me, it was like doctor, police officer, like psychologist. So I was like, okay, found something in between all that.
Right.
So it's like serving, helping
You're investigating
people.
Bodies. I mean, where's the real problem here?
Exactly, yeah. Not too far off, so.
That's funny, yeah. I mean, that's, we did not have that class, and I kind of wish we did. But I always had a clear picture of what I wanted to do going into college. I just had a very different way of going about it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because going into college, I did not think I would be in real estate. Although while I was in college, I considered it, but I was like, no, I want stable income, so let's not. But I went into school wanting to own my own dance studio.
Okay.
And I just was like, okay, what's the path to get there? And in my mind, I thought it had to be like dancing professionally, kind of building a name, and then making money in that way as a professional dancer, and then I could go build the studio once I've like built a name for myself and kind of gotten past those years of like the best performance years type thing, because I don't think a lot of folks, changing now, but at the time it was like you have till like you're 26, 27ish, and then you're like no more work in the industry for you. So that was my mindset going in. But because I knew I wanted to have my own studio, and in general I was just a nerd, so I definitely like love learning and wanted to be doing more than just dance classes. So I went in attempting double major for business and dance. Okay. I ended up getting the dance major, but I ended up minoring in business. Yeah. And adding a minor in Africana studies.
Okay.
And that was like random. It's like from a gen ed I took. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm learning about my own history and culture, particularly as somebody who doesn't know ancestrally like where my folks came from. I'm like, I'm black and white, but I can't say specifically where. Like people will tell me, oh, you look Ethiopian. I'm like, maybe. I don't know. Like, I have no idea. We didn't trace that far back, you know?
Yeah.
But all that leading to, oh, wait, she got her master's in higher ed? What does that have to do with business? Africana studies? Like, dance? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But it all came together for me because it was about serving people and finding ways to creatively express themselves, which within higher ed, my focus was social justice. So it was like, a lot of times folks just need help expressing themselves in order to like reach those goals they have, whether it's graduating college or building their own business or whatever it is. And a lot of that carries into the work I do today.
Well, I feel like you took advantage of your college experience, because I think a lot of people think college is like you got to go and pick a career and just do that thing, but it really is about exploring. And then a lot of people get the pressure like, 4-year degree, you got to do this. You can't just like try classes out. It's like, well, you know, if you're 21 or whatever, you don't know what you want to do, right? So you learn through trying, right? Yeah.
I thought I did, but
Some people do, but
I feel like a lot of times you either go in knowing what you want to do, and then life throws a wrench and God's like, hold on, like I got other plans, and you learn the hard way, or you go in not knowing what you want and you just start discovering it like piece by piece. Either way, it's like we fall into things we don't expect, because I never was a professional dancer. had 2 ACL reconstructions that
yeah.
definitely made me pivot, and that's what led me into trying to figure out where do my skills like fit elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did eventually open dance and yoga studio, although not the way I imagined, because I thought I was going to do one for youth, and I ended up doing it for adults.
Yeah.
And I think eventually, I'm like probably a decade or 2 forward, I would love to open a community center and a studio as part of that. That is like
there you go.
for youth, for adults, whatever that looks like. But I know that's not my now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the fact that you have that vision is good, because I feel like there's not, maybe I could be wrong because I haven't done any research, but finding places that are like communal, right? Like everyone's so individual, everyone's so like focused on themselves, which, you know, there's a good extent to that, but
Yeah.
there's so much loneliness and there's so much like, I don't feel like I'm part of a community.
Yes.
And you know, it's almost like little niches, like, oh, I go to this gym and I'm part of this gym's community.
Yes.
But okay, then that's like, is your identity just doing that workout?
Exactly.
Or, you know, what you're kind of describing sounds like it captures a lot of different elements to it. So you have like
hope so.
the exercise portion, but you can also have to sit down and just chop it up and socialize, kind of like what we're doing now, getting to know people. And it's we'll call it like a safe space for people to do that.
Right.
That doesn't have to be a bar. It doesn't have to be a sports venue,
Yes,
right? Because that's like
exactly.
the typical thing, like, oh, we all are fans of this sports team,
Yeah.
so we just go to the game together. It's like half the time you're yelling, drinking, and then people are on their phones, right? And it's like, get off your phone,
True.
participate.
Communicate, yeah. And that's one of the things I loved growing up in a dance studio was the community feeling. But I always felt separated. Like I ran track, and that was like one community, and then I would go dance, and I'm like, oh, that's my family, like my dance family.
Yeah.
But then, you know, my brothers played basketball. It was like a whole nother world. And then if I wasn't involved in sports, I did feel lonely.
Right.
I didn't feel like I had those connections, particularly because my siblings were so much older. But I thought it would go away as I got older, and it never did.
Yeah.
Everything always seems so niched and pocketed, and it does work for some people if you find your community and love it. But the moment that community's gone, you start questioning your own like identity and sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And I just don't want people to feel that. So I would love to create a space in the future. And I guess with real estate, that's a piece of it too.
Absolutely.
It's like creating the lifestyles and the feeling of truly finding home. Like real estate to me is so much more than like, oh, just go buy a house. It's like,
Yeah.
how do we create the feeling of home? Because wherever you buy that house, you also want to know what's around you, who's around you. Like
Not just
the
about the
amazing
house.
restaurant that you're like, oh, that's the place I love going to.
Yeah.
Or kind of like you mentioned when you got here, like, oh, we walk these streets all the time. I love this community. Like, I want people to feel that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they're truly part of their own community.
Oh yeah, and I don't think a lot of people. Well, I don't know. You're the expert. How many people actually think of that when they're looking to buy a home, right? Like, are they just looking like this house is what we want? But like, what if it's not in an area they like? You know, have they thought about that? And then, like you said, you're bringing like a different element or a different lens to how to look at houses that maybe someone doesn't. They're like, oh, I just need you to help me sign the paperwork. It's like, yeah, but I'm going to offer this other thing. Did you think about this?
Right.
And how you can do this here and do that? And they're like, oh, I didn't think about
It's
that.
not about making a sale. It's about long-term finding that joy. And sometimes you may pick a place that you're like, this is not checking all my boxes.
Yeah.
But you know, kind of like when we're building a business, this is my step to getting to that home that I know will check all the boxes.
Right.
And sometimes it is strategic, but I just don't think we ask enough questions culturally when
Yeah.
picking a place to call home.
Well, maybe, you know, I feel like people don't always know what they want. Sometimes I think they do, but then you kind of learn, you're like,
good point.
you don't know what you want. Like, you
Good
think you
point.
do, but you don't. Yeah.
That's why I like going to parks too. But we even like, okay, we lived in Cupertino. This is gonna be great. Best school district, you know. Let's give it a try. And it's like, okay, a lot of things to appreciate, but it wasn't the best fit for our family.
Yeah.
Being in Midtown San Jose right now, I love it. I don't think it's gonna be our forever location.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna be, you know, within the Bay Area, South Bay, but Midtown San Jose is like perfect for our season right now for our family. We look at Evergreen a lot, thinking about, okay, maybe that'll be better as we like grow into this
Yeah.
and transition in life, but we'll see.
I've been
We'll see
convincing
what
my
happens.
wife of potentially moving up into the hills, like the mountains.
You want a nice view. That
Just
should be inspiring.
having more space, like a true, you know, Zen, this is my place of peace. And, you know, it does add the commute living off of Summit Road. And
That was my challenge. I'm like, I love all these homes, but I don't know if I want to like drive that much
Yeah.
commuting. But then I'm like, wait, I drive so much for my job anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it doesn't really matter.
I'd say just due to cost of living, right? It's hard to like, oh, I get a really nice house here, but you get like 1,000 square feet for 1.4 mil. It's like 1.4 mil, I got like 4 acres and like, decent house that I can build upon in the future, and all this space, and it's quiet, and you don't deal with the traffic and the noise. I live like close to the airport, so we hear Caltrain, we hear the airplanes, and now they're building BART. We hear BART construction. It's like, I never not hear noise.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, what's it? And then we got college kids living in our complex, so when I leave a window open, girls are going out partying and making a ruckus, and it's like, damn, I really just need to be somewhere where I have no white noise.
And some people, they like the noise in the background, but if that's not your season of life, I get that.
Yeah, it's like it serves me now, but like what you're saying, it's like the different phases you can evolve, and you want something different in like your environment and stuff. Yeah.
I hope you find that beautiful house in the hills that just speaks to you.
One day.
Yeah. Probably one day sooner than you think. I feel like once you say it out loud,
manifest
you start attracting it.
Yeah, throw it out there. Yeah.
It starts coming your way. I love it. Does your wife like the hills and everything too?
At first she didn't, because she wanted to be closer to like friends and family and that kind of stuff. But I think I slowly planted the seeds, and I think she's kind of seeing it and going like, okay, I see what you're talking about, and maybe I'll be ready sooner than later, kind of.
You know what? That is how our relationship works. Anthony plants a lot of seeds that I don't agree to until like sometimes 6 months to a year later, and then I'm like, you were right.
Yeah.
That's like we would just say what I was saying. He moved first, and I was like, maybe, I don't know, two or 3 months later, I was like, okay, I'm coming.
Yeah. This is why we find like a partner in life that you bounce these off of, right?
Oh,
You don't want to either be completely the same.
Sometimes, and he's like, ahead.
Let's do this. Yeah. That's how I am too. My wife's like, that. Calm down.
Right.
All right.
I pull
get
back
too
the
excited.
reins. He's like, go.
Yeah.
I like it though. We need that balance.
Yeah. Oh no, it's good to have.
Well, the last topic I wanted to hit on today is actually one that we're kind of bringing through the series.
Okay.
So from the very first guest I interviewed, he challenged me, Chanson, to ask all our guests, how do you define wealth?
Ooh. That's a good question. So for me personally, I think there's an aspect of money just because you need it to survive. But I personally see wealth as like the friends, family, and the memories you make that you can't really replicate. Like I could buy a new house, I can buy a new car, I can, buy materialistic things, but it doesn't, just me personally, I don't feel like that's serving me other than like, it's a bag, whether it's $100 or $10,000, it's just a bag. But I think that tribal, I want to be with my people, I want to, like, the reason I'd love to have a house in the hills, like you can throw a big party where you're bringing all the ones you love together, bringing camaraderie, bringing community. And even if it isn't people who know each other, it's like, hey, bring them together. If this person is like the person who brought us all together and we all like that person, then maybe we can get along. Maybe we can build some kind of a relationship, whether it's business, friends, romantic. So that's what I would kind of see wealth as, because like that's all we really have. Like money comes and goes, you can make more, you can spend it, but you can't get back memories, right? And like my dad passed away a couple of years ago from a stroke, and while we had a severed relationship, I look back on it and like I wish I maybe spent some more time even though we had a different relationship. And same with like friends and family now. It's easy to get caught up in stuff and you're neglecting that. That I see wealth is like making those memories, taking those pictures, like making a photo album, whether it's digital or physical, and you look back on it, you go like, oh, you remember this? Like, oh man, that was so awesome. And they're like, okay, what are we going to create for the future in terms of those memories? Like that's the wealth I see. So I want to have like a bunch of photo albums, and I want to have like these memories and stuff that like when we got married, we had like a 3-day wedding, like in Carmel, like in this place called Holly Farm. It was a beautiful venue, kind of intimate wedding. And we hung out with like the majority of the people for like almost 3 days straight.
Wow.
And it made for a special time because, your weddings are so fast. You're like 4 hours, you barely talk to anyone. You're trying to eat 2 pictures and then it's done. You're like, I didn't even get to enjoy my wedding. So it's like when we had it spaced out over a few days, it helped us to not have to rush and spend time with each of the people that we love and we were happy were there. So that's how I would define wealth is that.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so keeping in mind that definition of wealth, what would you recommend, or if you were going to give advice to somebody else, let's say in their 20s, about building wealth in that way, what would you tell them?
Get off your phone. Just stop for a second, put it down, and practice the art of conversation with the person in front of you, whether it's your friend, family, someone you're getting to know. Because I think, and this is just what I kind of see from my lens, and this might make me sound old, but like young people are just so distracted by the phone, or they're like, I can multitask. Like I could be on my phone and talk to you and do this thing. And when I was that age, I thought the same way. We didn't have the phones the same way, but it's like I can drive and like quickly text and change the song or dance at the same time. And it's like, but you're not actively like remembering, or like it's not registering, because you're just doing too many different things. That just tackle one thing at a time. Like social media is always there. You can always check your status or whatever, but you can't always have the moment in front of the person that you're talking to. Especially, you know, like when you do have the free time when you're young, that's the time to make those ingrained memories. Because as you get older, you get married, you have kids, you career, you don't see them as much. So it's like, oh, I see like my good friends maybe once a month now, or once every couple months, and it's not because I don't want to, it's because I'm busy, they're busy, and you just don't get that back. And then you get the stigma of like, as you get older, if you're not married with kids, or you're the single friend, it's like, why aren't you finding it? Like, what are you doing? It's like, why do I have to be that, like what you're doing kind of thing? Like, we all have our different paths, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
So to bring it back, I would say for the younger folks, like, really enjoy the moment with the people in front of you, and don't be like so glued to your tech, or have to be in front of screens, or have to be stimulated constantly. Like, you can enjoy just this one-on-one, breaking bread, having a drink, and just having a conversation. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I feel like the more you can build those genuine, authentic relationships and have those conversations, your adjacent goals of making money, building your business, whatever it is, they're going to start aligning too, because you're knowing people for who they truly are, and their goals comes with that. And if you can learn each other's goals and support each other in getting there along the way, everybody goes further.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that's how you can ultimately build a business. Like, don't look at it as like so transactional, but I get to know people that, you know, I met someone like 2 years ago at an event, and then randomly saw them at a restaurant in San Rafael, like 2 years later. Just, they came up to me like, Dr. Grossman, what are you doing here? And I was like, I kind of forgot you, because it was an event where there's a lot of people. And I was like, okay, as we were talking, I was like, now I remember you. And then he like came to see me 2 years later. That was like super unexpected. And I didn't blow it off, because I knew he lived far away. I wasn't like, oh, you don't live near me, I'm not even going to talk to you. I was like, let's get to know each other. It's cool, you live in San Francisco, I live here, let's just get to know each other. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, my last question for you tonight is, what do you want people to know or remember about Dr. Mike?
Ooh, that's a big one. Thank you.
I'm still working on mine. I'll keep eating.
Did I help inspire a change in your life? Like, yes, I'm giving you exercise. Yes, I'm cracking your back and stuff, and that's all great. But did I stimulate or plant any seeds that led to some change that you want to go, you know what, I'm going to start doing this and make your life better in some way? That's like what I would want to like be remembered by, or have people kind of go, oh yeah, he did help me with this, or teach me that, or or I just liked how he approached it. It didn't feel sleazy or uncomfortable or anything like that. So I'd say that's how I want to be remembered by.
The impact.
The impact. Yeah.
The impact. I love that. A little crack and impact.
Crack and impact. I like it.
I love it. Well, I can't believe this is your first podcast, because you speak so eloquently too. Like, sometimes it's hard for me to conjoin all my thoughts together, but this conversation was awesome.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And like,
so much.
This will be one of those ingrained memories. Like, first podcast experience was with Lolo. It was near my area on a balcony, beautiful summer day in Santa Clara. So it's like, I really appreciate you inviting me, and this was fun.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. Yay.
Awesome. This is fun.
This episode of Here to Uplift is sponsored by Metis Real Estate. At Metis, we're dedicated to helping you love where you live, grow your wealth, and find a true sense of community. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, make your next move with Metis Real Estate. Now, back to the show. Thanks for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. I hope you're finishing this episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. We want to keep the stories and inspiration coming, so please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Uplift Community Friend. Please join us for another episode soon.